This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Hi everyone, my name is Maham and I crochet cute things. Today I'm going to be showing you how to turn any pixel grid design into a crochet piece. I'm a big believer in showing you guys all the necessary skills and techniques you need to become a crochet designer yourself, and by following the steps that I'm going to show you today, you can take any pixel grid you see on Pinterest or any pixel grid that you design yourself, and you can turn it into a sleeve for an iPad, for a laptop, for a Kindle, or even a book. So this way you can create your own patterns and establish yourself as a crochet designer if that is something that you're interested in. Also, I know that there are a bunch of really cute designs on Pinterest, but it's so hard to find patterns and tutorials for them. So now if it's a pixel grid design, you can crochet it all by yourself just by looking at it and by following the steps that I'm going to show you in this video. Since we talked a little bit about establishing yourself as a crochet designer, I thought this was the perfect time to introduce today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to create your online presence and launch your passion project. You can design and create your dream website all by yourself by simply selecting one of the beautifully designed templates and then making your own, whether you want to start a blog, create a personal CV, or launch a business. With a huge range of various tools and easy-to-use templates, you can start your online store or business to sell digital and physical products. I'm going to show you some more cool features that I've been exploring while working on my digital diary site, which is still a work in progress. Squarespace has member areas where you can connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content. For example, a membership for crochet patterns. You could add a portfolio or gallery of your work using Squarespace's professional portfolio designs. So if you'd like to create a website of your own, I highly recommend heading to squarespace.com, try it out for yourself with a free trial, and once you're ready to launch, you can use the link in the description box to save 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. Also, I forgot to mention that I've got a bunch of helpful links in the description box. I've got a neat little summary of all the steps that I'm going to go through in this video on my blog, and my personal favorite, I've got my Pinterest board for pixel grid designs that you can scroll through before starting your piece. Find a pixel grid design that you like, and let's get designing. Because I'm home for the summer holidays, I just wanted to show you my cats really quickly. This is Chai. This is Coco. He's sleeping right now. Over here, we've got Lily and we've got Ash. Let's go over the steps really quickly. Step 1 is to decide what you want to make. So you can scroll through my Pixel Grid Ideas Pinterest board, find a pixel grid that you like, and decide whether you want to make the sleeve for your iPad, laptop, Kindle, or even a book. Step 2 is to create the back piece. This will help you determine how many stitches and rows you need to create a sleeve that's going to be the same size as the device or book that you're making it for. Step 3 is to create your pixel grid using the measurements that you have from your back cover, and then to start designing it by filling it in with different colors or by transforming a pixel grid that you found on Pinterest to the size that you want for your sleeve. Step 4 is to start crocheting using either the carry-on method or the floating yarn method. Carry-on method is good for if you're using 2 colors. Floating yarn is good for whether you're using more than 2 colors, 4, 5, 6, as many colors as you like. Step 6, whatever step we're on, is to slip stitch the sides together to join the 2 pieces of your sleeve together to make your sleeve, and that's it. So step 1 is to crochet the back piece of your cover, and what this does is it helps you determine how many rows and how many stitches you need to make the cover the size that you want it to be. I'm going to be making a few different covers, one for my MacBook, one for my Kindle, and one for my sister's iPad. To make the back piece, you first have to decide which direction or basically what your design is going to be. For example, if you want a character and you want the character to be standing here, then you should be making your back piece in rows that go in this direction. But if you want the character to be standing, for example, this way, so this the character is standing this way, then you need to do rows that follow this direction, that are the size of this direction, and that seems a little bit confusing, but I'm going to be showing you how to do this because I'm going to be doing 2 characters and they will both be standing in different directions, so you're going to have an example of what to do. I'm going to start by making the back piece for the iPad. So you're just going to get the yarn that you want to use. You can use any size of hook, you can use any size yarn. I recommend using a 4.5mm hook or a 4 to 5mm hook. We're going to start off by making a slip knot. This is how I like to do it, but there's lots of different ways to do it. That is your slip knot, and now you're going to chain as many chains as you need for the width of your project. So to chain, you grab your yarn and pull it through, making sure to keep tension over here so that your chains are nice and even. Also remember that your stitches will stretch your chains out a little bit, so it might get slightly bigger once you add your single crochets. So I really like using either single crochets or half double crochets in these pixel grid designs, so that's what I'm going to be using for the back piece as well. Now your back piece is just a plain piece that helps you find out how many stitches and rows you need to do for your pixel grid. All of this will make sense as we move further along into the video. I just keep repeating things because I want to make sure it's super duper clear. We're going to start by doing our single crochet rows now, and you're going to skip the first chain and you're going to insert your hook into the second chain, and you're going to insert a single crochet. So to insert a single crochet, you insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. And now you're going to be inserting a single crochet in all the chains all the way down the row. This is what my single crochet looks like once it's all done, and I'm going to show you how to start a new row. I'm going to chain 1. This doesn't count as a stitch, it's just to help us start a new row, and then you're going to turn your work. And remember, this doesn't count as a stitch. You're going to go into your very first single crochet of the row, which is this one over here, and then you're going to insert a single crochet, and that is how you start all of your rows. And now you just go all the way back down, inserting your hook into every stitch and just inserting one single crochet. I'm going to be starting another row here, so I chained 1, turned my work, inserting my hook into the first single crochet of the row, and now I'm just going to keep doing rows until I have a piece that is the same size as my iPad. This is the back piece for my Kindle cover. I'm going to be creating a pixel grid for this. So you're going to go to friendshipbracelets.net, and then you're going to go to generate, alpha pattern. I'm working with my left hand, so that's why I'm a bit slow. And this is going to be where you create your pixel grid. So you're going to start by inserting, well, getting the height that you want. So the height is going to be the number of rows that you've done for the back piece. So I did a total of 30 rows, so I'm just gonna press plus until I get 32 actually. And now you're gonna adjust the width, and the width is gonna be the number of stitches that you've got over here. So I've got 28. I'm just gonna press plus until I get 28, and then you're gonna have a blank pixel grid. I'm just gonna zoom out so I can see the full pixel grid like this on my screen, that you can fill these boxes. So there's pixel mode over here. Just select a color, and then you can, start making your designs. You could go to fill mode. So instead of filling in all the pixels separately, you could just go to fill mode and fill it all up. So what I did for my iPad cover is I had a super big pixel grid, and I filled it in to make a little frog, and I did some clouds. And for my laptop cover, because I wanted a Snoopy design, I just made the blank pixel grid, and then I adjusted that Snoopy grid that I already had. I found it from Pinterest. This is a cute little butterfly I made for my Kindle cover, and now I'm going to be showing you how to follow the grid and crochet your design. This is my back piece. What I like doing is working directly from the back piece. So instead of starting a whole new piece for the front, I'm just going to continue working from here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this as the end of my back piece. So I'm just going to take a bobby pin and mark this row over here as the end of my back piece, and all the rows that come after are going to be my front piece. As you can see, my pixel grid, I have to do 3 rows of just white stitches because all of the boxes are white. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to continue crocheting like normal, and I'm just going to be doing 3 rows of just single crochets with white because that's the color in my grid. So it just helps to always keep in mind that one box is one stitch, one row of boxes is a row in your work, And so everything works the exact same. I'm just going to be showing you how to do the carry-on method because in this piece I'm using 2 colors, so the carry-on method works best for that. I'm going to show you how to attach your yarn, and I'm going to show you how to follow the grid as well. So I just finished my first row, and I'm going to be doing my second row, which is also just white boxes, so that means all of my stitches are going to be with white. Just like before, you're always going to be starting your row with a chain 1 and then turning your work. So everything is the exact same. There's nothing different when you're following a pixel grid. The only difference is that you're using more than one color and that you're switching between colors. Also, I forgot to mention that if you're making this cover for a device that is kind of thick at the bottom, then it would really help if you did 1 extra row while working on the back piece. So for example, my grid has a total of 32 rows, but I also made an extra row before starting the front piece, and this doesn't count as my grid. It's just a row that's just going to be there to make up for the thickness of the device. Does that make sense? So this row over here is extra, and it just stays in the part like the thickness of my device. So it doesn't really make a difference to our grid. Our grid is still 32 rows, 32 on this side, 32 on the front side, and there's just this 1 extra row over there to make up for, you know, how thick our device is. Because if you don't make this extra row, then what could happen is that your device might not fit, or that some of it might like poke out. So if you want, just do an extra row in the back piece before starting your front piece. Now I'm starting my 4th row, and in my 4th row I've got some purple boxes. So what I need to do is I'm going to count the boxes first. Always count your boxes, see how many you have to do. So I've got to do 9 boxes with white, and then 5 boxes with purple, and then the rest of the row is white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do 9 stitches with my white yarn, 8, and now we always switch colors on the last stitch of our current color, if that makes sense. So after the 9th stitch, I need to use purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to purple on the 9th stitch so I can continue using purple in the other stitches. Insert your hook into your last stitch with your current color, and you're going to pull up a loop, but you're not going to complete your single crochet. Instead, you're going to get the color that you want to use next. You're going to make a little loop with it, and you're going to complete the single crochet with the purple instead. So you're going to take your color and you're going to slide it through to complete the single crochet. Now in the carry-on method, what you do is you just hold on to the white and you're going to be working over it. So hopefully this is clear. Now I need to do 5 stitches with purple. So I'm going to be holding on to this. Just tighten the stitch a little bit, and I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch while working over the white. So we're going to be carrying it with us. Now just like normal, I'm going to be doing 5 single crochets with purple because there are 5 boxes in my grid. And then on the 5th stitch, I'm going to switch back to white, because after the 5th stitch I need to use white for all the other stitches in the row. So look at this. I've finished 4 stitches. I'm going to be doing my 5th, and over here I need to switch back to white. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, but I'm not going to complete the single crochet. Instead, I'm going to cross over the purple, make white my working yarn. So this is the yarn that I'm going to carry, and white will become my working yarn. And I'm going to complete the single crochet with white. And now I'm going to carry the purple with me. So I like just carrying my yarn with me instead of letting it go, especially when it's 2 colors. But if you have a yarn color that's too dark, then the other method might be good for you, which is the floating yarn method, and you can skip ahead to that if you don't think that this is going to work for you. When you're carrying your yarn and you need to start a new row, you complete your last single crochet of that row, and before you chain 1, cross over the yarn that you're carrying to the other side and hold on to it like that, and then chain 1, turn your work, and the yarn that you're carrying should have also changed direction to this side. And now I'm going to be doing my 5th row, And it's completely normal for these sides to be peeking through. You could always pull it tighter, but please beware that doing this can also squeeze your piece inwards. So please don't pull it too tight. Just let it relax a little bit. When we're sewing the sides together, this will get covered anyway, so don't worry. Well, I need to do 13 single crochets with white because there are 13 boxes before I can switch to the purple. So we always follow our grid from left to right and then right to left and then left to right. So it kind of goes like a snake. If you've played snakes and ladders, it's kind of sort of like that. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to be doing 13 with white, 12, and here's my 13th stitch where I need to switch. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, but don't complete the single crochet. Instead, I'm going to cross over the yarn, make the other color my working yarn, and complete the single crochet like that. Now I'm going to be carrying the white and doing my single crochets with purple. This is going to be my last stitch with purple, so that means I need to switch to white. So I'm going to make white my working yarn. And now I'm going to go back to carrying the purple until I need to use it again. And that is how this is going to work. Once again, when you're starting a new row, before you chain one, don't forget to cross over the yarn that you're carrying to the other side so it changes direction. Then chain one, and then you can turn your work and continue like normal. Now I need to do 8 single crochets with white before switching to purple. So that means that I'm going to switch to purple on my 8th stitch. And then 8, I need to switch to purple. So I'm not going to complete the single crochet. I'm going to cross over my yarn, grab my purple, make it my working yarn, and switch. I'm just going to carry the white with me. And now I need to do 2 single crochets with purple. So I'm going to do 2, and now I'm going to switch back to white on the second. And now I need to do 3 single crochets with white and then 2 with purple. So I'm going to switch on the 3rd single crochet. 1, 2, 3 over here I need to switch, so cross over, grab my purple, complete the single crochet. And I'm going to keep carrying on my white yarn. Now I'm going to do 2 single crochets with purple because there are 2 boxes. I'm going to switch on the second because it's time to use white again. And there we go. That is how this is going to work. I just want to show you how tangled up my yarn is getting. So it's completely normal, and you can sort of see the grid forming. So you're always going to have a wrong side and you're going to have a right side, and you can decide which side this is. Just pick the one that looks neater to you and just assume that that's going to be the side that's going to be facing out. Now your front piece is going to grow up and up and up and up, and as you're following the grid, you're going to be basically going, so let's pretend we started from here. So you're going to go left to right, and then right to left, and then left to right, and then right to left, which is what I'm doing here. The main takeaway over here is to understand that each box is a stitch, and you need to switch colors on the last stitch of the current color. Once you have that, once you understand that concept, you'll be able to follow any grid at all. So once you get the hang of it, it's pretty quick. And what you could do is you could write down, you could have a little in a notebook or something, you could just write down, count all the boxes beforehand, write down how many stitches you need to do for each color, and then just follow along to your own pattern. And then maybe later on you could also post the pattern. It could be your own little design. Over here I've got my back pieces for my laptop case and my iPad case, and I've written down how many stitches and rows they had in total. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these numbers and we're going to turn them into a grid box. This is the back piece for my iPad case. I did a total of 31 stitches and 44 rows. So then I went and entered that onto my laptop. I have a width of 31 and a height of 44. It gave me a plain white box, so I filled it in with the frog and some clouds. After making the pixel grid, I just attached the green yarn to the back piece, and then I inserted a single crochet in each of the stitches, making sure I had the same number of stitches as before. So this is a total of 31 stitches, just like we have 31 boxes over here. And because I was only using 2 colors, blue and green, I just used the carry-on method, and once I was done using the green, I just cut it. So I didn't do anything special, I just cut it once I was done. And now I'm going to show you how I'm going to be working with the white for the clouds, just to give you guys a few more examples on how to do this. Since my clouds start from the first stitch of the next row, I have to switch colors on the last stitch. So I'm just going to insert my last stitch of the row, but I'm not going to finish it. Instead, I'm going to be attaching the white yarn so I can use it for the clouds in the next row. Just make a little loop and we're going to slide it through. And then I'm just going to tighten a little bit, and don't forget to cross this over before you chain 1. And I'm going to chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work. Sorry, I barely have any space on my table today. So now I've turned my work. We're going to be carrying the blue and working with the white. Before I show you how I work with multiple colors, I just wanted to show you guys the reality of working with multiple colors, which is just you untangling a lot of yarn. So just be prepared for that and know that it's completely normal for your yarn to get super tangled, so don't worry about it. Just make sure that at regular intervals you're just unraveling it so it doesn't form knots later on. I'm using this Snoopy grid for my laptop sleeve, and it has more than 2 colors. It's got around 4 colors. So when we're working with more than 2 colors, we have a very clear wrong side and we have a right side. So when you first start working with more than 2 colors, pick which side you want to be the right side, and then your wrong side is the side where you just leave all your yarn. So I'm going to be showing you the floating yarn technique, which means that there's just these pieces of yarn floating around rather than you carrying them in. Because if I was to carry this black, then you'd probably be able to see the black through the white, and it gets a bit tricky to carry 2 to 3 colors at the same time. So the floating yarn technique works best for more than 2 colors. So when I'm not using black and white, they're just left hanging here on the wrong side, always, never on the right side. So I just leave them because I only need black and white in the middle, so they just stay here until I need them again. Now over here I'm going to be starting the little red heart from the grid, so I'm going to show you how I attach the color. It's the same exact method whether you're using 2 colors or 1 color. So you just make a little loop with it, and you attach the yarn into the previous stitch before you need to use that color, just like before. And I'm just going to cross this over. And since the pink is lighter than the red, I'm just going to carry the pink with me. It's not going to make much of a difference. But if you have, for example, a darker color, then it would be best to just leave it there. So you just leave it there instead of carrying it. But because the pink is lighter, I'm going to carry it with me. I need to do 2 stitches with the red. I'm going to switch to pink on the second. Now I need to switch colors, so I'm going to cross over the red to the wrong side. I'm going to switch to pink. And now I don't want to carry the red, so I'm just going to leave this hanging here on the wrong side. And I'm going to continue working with pink to complete the row. And this is basically how you do it when you don't want to carry the yarn. You just leave it hanging on your wrong side. I'm back after starting a new row, back to where I want to add more red stitches. So I'm going to switch to red over here. And when you're switching to this color, the one that you left hanging here, here's what you're going to do to make everything a little bit neater. You're going to insert your hook into the stitch where you're going to switch the color, and you're just going to hold on to the red like that. So whatever color is here, you're just going to grab it and you're going to hold on to it like this, but you're not going to do anything else with it. Just put it on your hook and hold on to it, and then complete the stitch like normal. So what this does is that it basically holds on to your yarn as if you were carrying it this whole time, if that makes sense. So now your red yarn is here rather than just hanging here, and it doesn't even show. So that's kind of how this floating yarn thing works. So now our pink yarn is there. What you can do is you can cross it over, just like how you would do it with the carry-on method, and you're going to switch to the red. And now I'm going to be carrying the pink and working with the red. You could also not carry the pink, that's fine, but I only need to do like 4 stitches with red, and then I'm going to need pink again, so I'm just going to carry it with me. And as you can see, the red is sort of just like floating. I'm going to show you how to switch back. Since I was carrying the pink, it's super easy. Now, what I would do usually is cross it over and then switch, but because we want the red to be on the wrong side, I'm not going to cross over. I'm just going to leave the red hanging on the wrong side and switch back to pink. And that is how you do it. And I'm just going to go and work on my other stitches. Since I don't need the red for a while now, I'm just going to untangle it from the rest of my yarn. This is really important because you don't want these really big knots in your work. So just untangle your yarn. The color that you're not using, just set it aside. So look, now my red is aside until I need it. And now I need to be switching to black. So I'm just gonna switch in this stitch over here. So I'm gonna insert my hook. I'm gonna get the black. Just gonna loop it onto my hook like that, as if I was carrying it this whole time. And now I'm gonna bring the pink up. Because I wanna keep carrying the pink, I'm gonna switch it over. I'm gonna switch to black. And there you go. Now I'm gonna be doing 3 stitches with black. So let me just go ahead and do that. Right now in the next stitch, I wanna switch to white. So I'm gonna insert my hook. I'm gonna grab the white, it's over there, as if I was carrying it this whole time. Bring a loop, and because I want to switch to white now and I don't really need the black for a little bit, I'm not gonna cross it over. I'm just gonna leave it to the wrong side like that. And I'm gonna switch to white. Just gonna tighten the black a little bit and make sure it's hanging on the wrong side. I'm just gonna be carrying the pink throughout this all. Now I can work with white. So now over here I need to switch back to black. So I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to get the black. So look, my black's over here. I'm just going to get it as if I was carrying it this whole time. Bring it up. And because I don't need the white anymore, I'm just going to let it go. And I'm going to grab my black. I'm going to switch to black. Tighten the white. And this whole time I've just been carrying the pink yarn. Now I'm going to do black. But I only need to do 1 stitch with black, so I'm going to be switching to pink. Hopefully this isn't getting too confusing. But this is just a way to show you guys how to switch between more than 2 colors with the floating yarn technique. So don't be concerned about how many stitches I'm doing because my grid is going to be different from yours. So now I'm going to do 1 stitch with black, and because it's just 1, I need to switch to pink so I can use pink there. And I'm just going to let the black go on the wrong side. Switch to pink, tighten the black, and now I'm done. And the rest of my grid is just this pink background. So once I'm done working on Snoopy, once I'm done working on the hearts, the colors are just hanging here, waiting for me to use them again. I'm not carrying them with me. The best way to understand the floating yarn technique is to try it out for yourself and to watch quite a few examples of how things are done in different places. So I'm just going to show you a few more ways that I do this on the wrong side. Over here I need to be switching to black, but my yarn is over here. Sorry, my cat's just scratching my door. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the black yarn like this and insert my hook as if I've been carrying it this whole time. That's the whole point of this. Now I'm going to cross over the pink, switch to black, and I'm going to be carrying the pink. Oh, over here, afterwards I need to switch to white, so I'm just going to grab the white as well before I insert my hook. Bring it up, make sure this pink is tight. Then I'm going to cross the black over. So you can see how it might get a little bit confusing, but you just need to focus on the colors you need to switch to. And there you go. Now I'm just going to be using white while my black is floating here until I need it. And this technique works fine whether you need to use, maybe you need to do 1 stitch of black here, 1 stitch of black here. You can still use the same technique by floating it over to that side. As long as this piece of yarn is there, when you insert your hook, before you switch to this color, everything's gonna be fine. So that's just the main gist of it. The main point is to just have your yarn sort of kind of attached to the stitch before you switch to it, making it a lot easier for you. So over here I need to switch to black, so I'm just gonna get my black yarn, bring it over here, float it, and then bring the white to the wrong side, never to the right side. Everything's always to the wrong side. I'm gonna switch to black, and I'm gonna do 2 stitches with black, I think. Yeah, 2. So look, my white's just gonna wait here until I need to use it again. And because I've been carrying my pink yarn this whole time, it makes it super easy for me to just switch to it whenever. And now I'm gonna work with the red since I'm coming over this side, but I'm just gonna make things easier for myself and untangle my pink yarn from these so I can work more easily on this side. All right, so please don't let your yarns get tangled up. Try to be a bit organized with it, and trust me, it'll make your life so much easier. Over here, I need to switch to the red. Oops. So remember, when you need to switch, you gotta bring your yarn up and float it. Okay, it's gonna be a bit tricky. Just gonna grab it. Okay. I'm gonna switch to the red. Just gonna carry the pink while I work with the red. And give this a go. It's much easier than you think. At first, it's gonna be tricky. It will be, but once you get the hang of it, trust me, it's so much fun. There's so many cool little designs you can make. And if you haven't already seen my Pinterest board, I have a bunch of pixel grid ideas already put up there. For example, over here, I need to use red, but my red is all the way over here. It's gonna be the same exact technique. All I'm gonna do is just bring up the red yarn over here because I need to switch. And I'm just gonna insert my hook through. So what we've been doing before, I'm just gonna make sure that it's not too tight, that it's a bit loose. And then I'm just gonna switch to the red. And now I can use the red. So exact same technique, exact same everything. It's just make sure that this isn't too tight. Just leave it a little bit loose, otherwise your work's gonna scrunch up. Sometimes adding details like eyes or blush is a bit tricky with pixel grid since you're not able to get that fully round effect. So what I like to do is I like adding separate pieces, making little circles with my yarn and then attaching it onto my faces. Get the yarn that you want. I'm going to show you with the pink. And you're going to start by making a magic ring. So hold on to your yarn, wrap it in sort of like an X shape. Grab onto the end, twist, and then you're going to chain 1. And then I like chaining 1 more. And now just insert the number of single crochets that you want, depending on how big you want your circle to be. So I like doing 5 or 6. So I'm just going to go in and insert 5 single crochets. Then once I've got 5 single crochets, I'm just going to pull the magic ring tighter. And I'm going to end the circle by slip stitching into the chain 2. I'm going to find the chain and slip stitch like that. Make sort of like a circle shape, like pulling this super tight. And then I'm just going to fasten it off. So I like fastening it off by chaining 2, getting my scissor and cut. And the way that I like to attach my pieces is kind of similar to how I attach it everywhere else. Just make sure you leave sort of these long, slightly long tails, and I'll show you how to do that. To attach the pieces, I position them where I want them to be, and I use my hook to basically slide these ends, just get them. So I slide these ends through a space in my work. So look at that, I'm just sliding it through, and this just attaches my piece over there. And then I'm going to take the other end, insert my hook to whatever space is closest, grab onto the end and pull that through as well, and then just like pulling these just like attaches your piece in place. So as you can see, if I pull this, it's slightly coming up. That means that I need to slide this somewhere else. So maybe if I put this here, it's less likely to pop up like that. So this method, you just see what looks best. Okay, that works. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to tie a knot at the back, and this is how I attached my black as well. So you just tie a little knot, and then you can cut the pieces and you're done. Now I'm going to show you how to join your sides together. This is my favorite way of doing it. I like slip stitching all the sides together. It gives me a really neat edge on the outside, and then of course you have the inside. So first decide which side is your right side, the side that you want to use, and which side is going to be the wrong side, which is going to be inside your case. And then turn your work to that wrong side, just flipping mine inside out. So this is my wrong side, the part that's going to be inside the case. I'm going to use this same technique to join all of my cases. So it's just slip stitches all along the edge. Make sure you line up your work, and then always insert your hook through both the pieces. It doesn't matter where, as long as it's the edge. Get the yarn that you want to use to join it together, make a little loop with it, and slide that loop through like that. And it would help if you just chain one and then tighten to secure it in place. And now you're going to be inserting your hook through both the pieces and then slip stitching them together. So it's going to be a bit tight. Make sure you stay on the edge and don't go too close to your design. And then you slide your hook through all of the loops on your hook like that, and that's your slip stitch. Let me do it one more time. So insert your hook through both of the pieces and then slide your hook, making a slip stitch. And that's basically it. You're going to do this all the way until you reach the very bottom over here, and then you can fasten it off. Just going to show you one more time. Make sure that your work is always aligned. Don't let it go wobbly like this, or let it curve. Just make sure you keep double checking that it's aligned. Once you're done slip stitching all across the edge, you're just going to be chaining chain two, and then you're going to fasten off your work. Pull and tighten. And that is how you join your sides together, and then you can flip your work inside out. And just stretch out the sides a little bit because they're going to be super duper tight from your stitches. Just push everything out in its proper place. Make everything nice and flat. And there you go.